Hello everybody, welcome to Live Scribbles with Jonathan. You can check out my website and my work at jonathanrector.com. And today, or this week anyway, like the months before, I'm working on a project called Worlds in Peril. It's a tabletop RPG game, similar to Dungeons and Dragons, but think just superheroes instead. And I've been tasked with the mighty task of doing all the artwork for the player's handbook, which huge treat, huge responsibility, and I'm just jazzed to be able to do it. I'm a big tabletop role-playing fan. I really don't have any time nowadays to do it, but there was a moment when I was doing some Dungeons and Dragons, and I love it. I hope you guys get a chance to try it yourself. Anyway, I was drawing this stuff during the pre-show. Just the stuff to go with the music. Apparently nobody saw it, so we're just going to kill it. I'll just get into what we're doing today. I've already got it set up. We're going to be doing some coloring today, and maybe we'll get into some line art later. Probably not, but we'll see. And I figured I would just start right from scratch here, just to show you guys as far as we go. I should be able to do this during the stream, since it's just a simple character here. This character's name is the Outsider. I love drawing this character. He's one of my favorite characters that I got to design for the book. And I don't know, he's very simple, and he's fun to draw, like I keep saying. I just want to go over what I'll be doing, and I'll show you guys an example of how I pull this stuff together, try to speed it up, and do that sort of thing. And I'll talk about batching. I hope I don't forget about that. But I wanted to say thank you to everybody that's a Patreon subscriber. You guys, I've actually gotten a few over this last week, and I want to say thank you guys so much. I really appreciate all the support that you guys give me, financially or otherwise. If you're here today watching the show, thank you so much. If you're watching it on YouTube, thank you. If you guys can't toss any money my way, that's never a problem. But there is one thing that you could do that's free, and I'll give you extra loves, and I'll give you pillow kisses before I go to bed tonight. And that's just sharing this stream and sharing my YouTube channel with your artist friends and buddies. And like usual, this stuff's all content driven, mostly on what you guys are interested in too. So by all means, send me an email, private message on anywhere you follow me, asking for certain videos or content you'd like, and I'll do my best to get them going for you. Thank you, Noah. Thank you. So, enough beating all that stuff to death. Okay, so the workflow that I like to work in is batching, that you guys have heard me talk about before, and it works especially well for this sort of task here, where I have to do a bunch of these sorts of pinups. Now, just to put this in context of what it is, imagine, again, you're flipping through a player handbook. If you don't know what that is, it's just if you play a board game and you're flipping through the rules. Except pages and pages of text are pretty boring. So this guy would be an example of a picture that would be here, and then he'd be surrounded by text on the rest of the page, okay? So this stuff's here to help liven up the rest of the book. So I'll do it in batches like we've done. A bunch of roughs for probably about 5 to 10 of them. Then I'll do the tight line art. Then I'll go into the inks. And then right now what we're doing is the coloring. Usually I'll do my flats, which we'll be doing, and then I'll walk away. But this is such a simple image, I'm hoping, regardless, even if we're going into past an hour, that's okay. I may as well just keep streaming for you guys to see, because this does go on the YouTube channel, and some of you guys are really digging just the how long does it normally take sort of thing. Okay, so let me just go into how I like to work this stuff. So when I'm done in Manga Studio with this stuff, if you look, this guy's really jaggy. And some people don't like this look. I don't really necessarily like it, but I know it's a means to an end, so I can overlook it. Once I'm done in Manga Studio, you guys have seen it, I'll flatten the image, the inks, and then I change it to monochrome, the layer to monochrome, and all it is black and white, gets rid of all the gray. Then I can export it as a TIFF, because a TIFF makes the sizes of the files so small, it's ridiculous, okay? Here's an example. This image here is... let me see if I got the size here, if Windows will show me. Okay, so it's a smaller one. This guy here is only 1875 by 1500. It's 300 dpi, but then again, it's not a massive file. Either way, this is 220K. Okay, that's a joke. It's so small, it's ridiculous. And if you're an inker and you're sending to a colorist, I know nowadays, like with internet speeds and stuff, everything's getting better and all that, so you might not necessarily need this. But once this goes to print, it all gets jazzed up. And once we get the coloring on there, most of it will go away. You won't even really notice it. And it just makes a cleaner image. I know it looks a little weird. When you print this stuff out, it looks crystal clear and fine and all that stuff. So, anywho, so I have that. And when I export it, it's usually, I do all my coloring in Photoshop. I'm not proficient in Manga Studio just yet, so I don't want to be pushing and trying to do all that fancy stuff in there. So when I bring it into Photoshop, I have to go up to image mode. Usually it's on grayscale. I just change it to RGB color. That way we can color the image. Or if it's print, I should be doing CMYK, but the printers nowadays, usually RGB is fine. And I'm not really doing dramatic effects or anything here. All that I'm really doing is just flat colors in a shadow. So let me just bring into the frame here. This is an example of another image that I've already done for the book. It's just this. I like this simple coloring. There's nothing really dramatic about it. Every now and then I could put in a highlight. So I like to keep this open in the side because it's all the main characters. And I'm just going to be pulling colors from this guy. So I'm going to move this off screen, okay? Just so you guys don't have to see that, but I need to see it. The next thing that I will do is I have my window open here. I go up to Window, Arrange, New Window. And that just makes a smaller one. It's kind of like what's in your Navigator window, okay? But I don't really like the Navigator window, so let's just scroll and get rid of it. I have a second monitor, so I don't really need it. So I just drag it over to my second monitor. And this is why I tell you guys, if you can afford it, if there's one thing that digital artists should get after a tablet, in my opinion, is a second monitor. It usually makes up so much more than you even realize. If you can scratch or get lucky to find a monitor that you can rotate so that it can be on an 11:17 ratio. I know I'm throwing a lot of information at you guys. Hopefully, it's a lot of repeated information, so hopefully it doesn't come across as just a whole bunch of gibberish. But get the rotated monitor. It'll help you out so much, especially when you're doing covers and pinup work. So let me just full screen this here. All right, so the next thing I need to do is I like to separate my line art from the background in case I ever want to color something like these clouds. I might not want these clouds to be black. I don't know yet. I might want them to be like a dark beige, or I'm not sure. But it's a very simple way to remove your line from the white background. So I do it regardless before I get into any kind of coloring. Okay. James is asking, does the second monitor slow down the computer? I'm not a technical guy. I'm not sure. I don't think I've noticed anything. But to be fair, I've always had a second monitor. Right now, I'm using the Cintiq, like you guys know, which the small one, the 12WX. So that is a monitor. Before I had this, I was drawing on an Intuos, and I had two monitors on that. And for a long time, I just used one. And it was fine. The difference was that I would zoom in and out all the time. And it was just getting tiresome. And I saw somebody post a picture. I believe it was Freddie Williams, or actually, no, Krishna Sadasivam, if I'm saying his name right. I believe his website or his webcomic is pcweenies.com. Check him out. Fabulous guy. He's got so many cool things going on for digital art. But he had an image of a monitor that was rotated sideways that looked like literally an 11:17 that he just put up right on the window, or right on the monitor, and it looked like it was fine. It was perfect, and I was like, I have to get that. Okay, so I know there's some questions. I just want to ask. It sounds like some people are having problems, like it's lagging or something like that. On my side, it's saying it's perfect, but obviously that's just me. You guys let me know in the chat if it's absolutely brutal, or if it's I'm streaming. I believe the stream quality that I stream at is about medium low, because I know if I go any higher, my computer, my internet can't handle it. I don't have fancy stuff here. But let me just go in here to check. Yeah, I don't think I can change the quality while I'm streaming. But you guys let me know. I know there's a couple people in here that are voicing concerns of lag. If you are in the chat and it's you are able to, let me know. Please let me know, guys, so you guys can help out everybody else as well. Anywho, hopefully. Okay, so you guys switch low. I apologize again. I don't know. If you guys know, I know Eric Faries. He's told me about another streaming service that might be a little bit better for artists. Whereas Twitch is good for video games. This one, Pictaro, it might be called, might be good for art. I might make the switch just to see if it fixes all this stuff here. Okay, cool. So we're kind of getting back and forth. For those of you that are suffering this week, I'm not sure what I could do. Everything on my side saying it's good, and I apologize. Okay, so let's get back to this, to those that can see it. Worst case scenario, hopefully the stream's fine, its recording is fine, and this will get posted up on YouTube. And I know for everybody that's here in the stream, they don't want to wait. I know I wouldn't want to wait, but I apologize. Twitch has artists. Okay, well that's excellent to know too. Okay, so I'll worry about that stuff later. All right, so next we got our image here. Let's separate the line art. So this is the fancy thing in Photoshop. We've got layers, paths, and channels. I doubt anybody really goes into any of those for the most part, but we're going to be going into the channels. But before we do that, when you load your image in, usually it's locked like this. All that I do is I just double click on the layer, and this pop-up comes up. Saying, did I want to rename it? I don't really name this one. Doesn't matter. I just hit OK. And what this does is now I can do things to the layer, okay? So now that I have that, I'm going to press D. And what that does is it makes the foreground color black and the background color pure white. Okay, so we're going to go into channels. And these are all your colors that you can have, okay? If you come down here, looks like it's a circle with a bunch of dotted lines. You click that, and you're going to see all these selections in there. And what it's doing is selecting what I believe, anyway, is the black. At least that's what I'm sure it does. Oops, I'm jumping steps. Let me just deselect that. After you rasterize this layer, what you're supposed to do is drag it down here and make a duplicate layer, okay? And the reason for this, I'm actually not even sure if you're actually supposed to. This is just a habit that I've always been in. So we're going to make white, and we're going to Alt Backspace to fill it. So we have a white background. Press D to get our colors back again. Channels, select it all. Go back to layers. Make sure that layer is selected. Press Delete. And deselect it, lock the layer, and fill it black. I'll make a video on coloring, I think. I know I have an older one where I talk about this, but just to slow this down so you guys can actually kind of see it. And I'll just show you right now what this lets me do. So now that I have this separate, now most people, they can just have that layer and they put it to multiply and then they draw underneath it, but I like having that option. It didn't take me any time to set this up so that I can do this. I'm able to go ahead and go, okay, so let's get a brush, and maybe I want his head to be red. See? So now I can do this sort of thing. Or like we said earlier, I want these maybe, you can do something wild too. You can go ahead and do this sort of thing, make a selection on your lines and just make like a gradient on them. You know, it's cool little effects like this. It does nothing. Nothing. It does nothing, and it's such a quick thing to do. I think you should get in the habit of doing it if you are coloring in Photoshop anyway. Let me just go up and scroll just to see what you guys are saying here before we keep jumping around, or before I keep jumping around. Hey Justin, did I get your message about 3D modeling on Facebook? I think I had seen it. I just haven't had a chance to reply. I'll try to reply to you tonight, buddy. Sorry about that. Noah is saying, John, I have 2 monitors for my laptop. Do you know how to make a second window in Manga Studio 5EX? Actually, yes. Let me just load this up here. And it's literally the same thing. Thank God. Manga Studio 4 was sucked for this, but let me just make a new image here. I might lag here. Okay, so all you do is it's literally in the same spot. So window, canvas, new window. And what it does is you can see it pops up here, but if I drag this down, whatever I do in this layer shows up here too. So this one, I bring it over to the second monitor. Okay, so one more time, that's window, canvas, it's the first one, new window. That's what you want. And that's it, okay? So I'm going to minimize this, leave in the background in case we need any other Manga Studio questions. Alex Fern is saying, Jonathan, I had that moment of holy shit this week. I am not sure what you and Will Robson call it, but it's that moment where you figure something out that makes you feel like making comics is possible. Hey, I'm glad you had that. The more you do this, the fewer and far between those start showing up. So get as many as you can, and they'll keep coming. They'll never go away. And in my opinion, when you're doing comic book work, it always feels like work until you're done, and you get this shot of adrenaline when you're done something and you send it off. You're spent. Ugh, I'm done. That issue's done. That project's done. And then you get this shot of like, all right, what do I get to do next? And then you get to see it published, and maybe it's not as cool as it turned out to be, but when you complete a project, you get this rush, and that, in my opinion, is what you take with you to get crazy enough to do this all over again. So when you get these little things, these little like revelations, you might want to call them, something like all of a sudden you figure out how to draw a head at an angle that's been giving you trouble for so long. Once you get that, that's little shots of inspiration and adrenaline that keep you going. And I highly recommend everybody continue to study when you can, because you will get that sort of thing from time to time. So congratulations there, man. I'm glad you're getting that. Noah John, did you learn this from the YouTube channel Lumage? He has many. I don't know. There's been so many. This line art thing, I remember I found this one out probably back in like 2001, 2002, when I got my first. I think it was before the bamboo tablets by Wacom. It was what were those called? Graphire. I had one of those, buddies. Oh my gosh. It was so good. Mike Draws, hey John, how do you keep characters looking the same throughout different poses and head positions? It's very tough. Here, I'll show you guys an example of how I still fail right now. So we got this guy here. Look at his face. I'm going to put the colored version here. Obviously the color's going to help, but oops. Those faces look like two different characters, right? Now, I'm playing with one's emotion a little bit more than the other one. And once the color's in there, it'll help. But the more you draw, the better and easier you get. You start to file or find, in my opinion, you start to find keystones and areas on people's faces that are characteristics to them that make them indistinguishable. That's different from when you're reading a book or a project and you look at one and the next panel, the guy looks radically different. That's, I think, just practice. The more you draw, that sort of thing will go away. You won't be worrying about that as much. So just keep drawing. Try to find things on your character that, like I just said, are like, I don't want to say keystones, but necessarily, what's the wording I want to use on this? If you're drawing Wolverine, right, and you like your Wolverine with a big beefy chin, as long as you keep drawing that beefy chin, you're good. You know what I'm saying? Like, the more you can find certain things on the character that you can always sort of fall back on, it'll help you as you struggle until you understand how to draw the characters over and over again. And I've heard people say this, and I'm the same way, guys. I did a project called The Standard. You guys probably remember. I hope you remember. And that project, I was drawing a few characters throughout the entire book. And okay, why can't I drop those? Interesting. But I was drawing the same few characters all the time through that book, and the problem that was happening was that my style kept kind of changing, how I was drawing. I was still learning as I was working on that project. So the more you do this sort of stuff, the more you're just going to get naturally better, and the better you get, the easier it is. So towards the end of the book, I was able to, in my opinion, make a Gilbert look a certain way, so that I could draw him all the time there. Okay, give me 1 second here, guys. I'm just going to throw in some colors on this guy here. Yeah, landmarks, again, in case I don't know if there's lag on here or not. So if you were drawing, trying to think of a character that might, Cable, if you know, okay, a character with their eye, with a scar running down their eye. As long as that scar is always roughly the same and the eye is always the same, the features you can get away with. You know, like grab a comic book and look at the characters that draw. A lot of artists, myself included, draw the exact same faces on all the characters. And there's a reason for that, right? Because that's what you're safe with. There's very few artists that can get away with doing ethnicities and things like that. Like you'll see a black woman next to a black guy, next to a Chinese guy and a white guy. They all should have variations in how they're structured, right? If you want to go with the typical black route, the big nose, big lips, on average, right? Like they are bigger than the white people's facial features. And how you illustrate that helps separate these characters, right? So when you know things like that, that helps you when you're making the characters relatable and look the same from panel to panel. Hopefully. Oh man, where is this here? The Outsider. That's the one I want. I'm not sure if the colors that are coming up are the right ones here. Just want to make sure. Yep, they are. Okay, cool. Justin, hey John, what do you use to record the screen like in your do-it-yourself videos? It's a program called Camtasia. C-A-M-T-A. Think of like Fantasia, the movie. But Camtasia, like a camera. Let me just get off my chair here. Okay, so first things first, let's get some what we like to call flats. And what the flats are is just the flat color. You can use whatever you like. What I like to do is this character is mostly blue, so I like to start with blue. And this is actually a technique that I learned through Dave Raposa, that tutorial that I taught, or that I taught, geez, that I bought, that I told you guys about. And it's how to make masks. I have no idea how to use masks. I'm getting an understanding through this technique, and I know that I can see the reason for it. However, I've never really looked into it outside of this. And I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily because it's just comics are like this. I don't know. But what we're doing is we're just coloring in the character, just the entirety of this character. And what we do from there is we make mask layers on top of it, so that when I add other colors to this character, like his green skin, I can do this outside the line, and the like if I go like this with the green and I'm coming out this way, you can see all this, and that's not good. But once I have this on a mask, I can go like this and scribble as much as I want, and it'll never go outside this way. And it just makes coloring so much simpler because I don't have to worry about always having to line things up. I don't know about you guys, but flatting, that's what this is called right here, just using flat colors on comic pages and illustration is, to me, I hate it. I like trying to find cool colors and things that come together, but I'm no colorist. I have some tricks up my sleeve that get me certain results, and I lay on those heavily, but I'm always trying to learn, trying to figure this stuff out a little bit better all the time, you know. Is this still, let me just save it. I don't know if it's a PSD yet. Nope. Okay. I should say as well that the coloring style that I'm doing for these characters, for all the interior ones, they're pretty simple. It's this flat color with just like a shadow. And when certain images need it, I might put like a little highlight. I might actually do it on this character because it's pretty easy to do. And the deadline right now is very tight. So if you guys remember us talking last week, I believe it was last week or the week before, about deadlines, and when you're under a deadline, how much you can how much artistic, what's the word I'm looking for? Quality, I guess, you can sacrifice to be able to hit a deadline, and what's acceptable and what can you get away with to make things faster without having to, like if it was up to me, you know, and I had all the time in the world to do this, like a cover or something, then I'll go in there and I'll try to figure out maybe new lighting schemes or what colors would be in this because of like the smoke around them, and add some fog. But what I will be doing to separate him from the clouds, and this also helps too. I didn't even say that, but when you work like this, and you'll see it, because what I want to do is those clouds in the background, I want to add like, not a fog, but it's like a gradient that acts like a fog, I guess, but it pushes him in front of the clouds. And you'll see me do that. And it's actually very simple. But when you work with this method as well, or any method that involves flatting, it doesn't have to be this one necessarily, but if you're doing selections like this, once I'm done, I can always just, in Photoshop, hold Control and click on the layer, and it'll select everything, right? But if this character is an entire selection, that way I can select him and then draw directly behind him or anything like that. And it should work. And this stuff can be pretty tiring. For a long time, I used to go in here and you'd see what I'm doing here, and then I'd go in there and I would color all of this stuff on the inside, and it's stuff like that that I kind of shake my head at, because if you notice that you're doing something a lot of the time that doesn't get you anywhere, that you can speed up and you're not speeding it up, then you really got to question what you're doing. And I'll show you why. It goes with the actions. I have an action here so that as long as I have the outside selection, I can just press a button and it's going to fill everything in. So I don't have to worry about doing that anymore. And the other thing too is, I've never gotten really comfortable with this, but I've seen colorists do this, is since I have just a black and white image here, I can use my magic wand tool and just start making big bulky selections, and it'll be picking up things very easily because it is all in black and white. There's no gray. But like I said, I haven't had much success doing that myself. I think there might be something I'm doing wrong. I just feel like this is simpler right now, even though it's probably not. And this, to me, again, is the most boring part. Thank goodness for music. If I had music going right now, like, I don't really think about this. What I'm trying to do is stay inside the lines, obviously, as much as I can. I'm not being too picky if I go outside them, as long as I'm not like, oh, okay, like that, and just let it go. Like, that's gross. Okay, so you guys will see here, we're almost there. Let's just see how easy this is. Almost at the home stretch. And the other benefit too, which I really dig, is since these images are used in the book, this white background gets to stay. I don't have to color the entire background. I just have to color this character and like the smoke that I drew in there. I don't have to worry about environment colors and stuff like that. There's a few images, if you're here during the pre-show, if the screen was recording anyway, I have this one image of this firefighter kicking in a door to save a little girl. And that one, it's like, okay, well, now I need a room and fire, right? Like, that's a lot of environmental stuff, so there's way more heavy lifting in terms of lighting and stuff for color, let alone black and white. I have to worry about. So let me just zoom out so you guys can see what I'm going on. So if you look at it, let me just turn it off. That's the selection. It's disgusting. It's gross looking, right? So I just press W for my wand tool, just so you guys know which one I'm using. I'm just using the magic wand tool here. Make sure sample all layers is off. I just want this layer. So when I select it, the selection's there. I'm just going to press a button and it fills it just like that, right? It saves it so much time. And what that action does is I make a selection with a wand tool, and then I record my action, which does this. It expands the selection I made by, I believe it's 2 pixels, and then fills it, and then deselects the selection. That way, I don't have to worry about going in there and just... Sometimes this happens here because somebody did say in the chat, which is a very good point, if I use the pen tool, or the pencil tool, it'll just be black and it'll be I forget the aliasing, anti-aliasing, whatever. It's one of them where there's no like fuzziness to it, and I won't have to touch this stuff up. It's actually something I should get in the habit of doing. Actually, we'll do it right now. So if you hold down on this on your brush tool, you can go right there to pencil, and just to show you the difference. So this is your pencil tool. Look at that. That looks very similar to this black and white line art. And then this is what a brush looks like. The brush always, in my opinion, always looks good. But when you zoom in, this is the problem. When you make a selection, do you see how this selection is always right up against? Whereas this one, look at all the gradation, the tone that's in there. And you don't want that. That makes it very, very not pleasing. So that's why I had to do some of the touch-ups. Like right here, we still got more touch-ups here. And I mean, this isn't really a big deal. Normally, it's not this bad. But anyway, so let me just save it here. So this is literally all you got to do to make this mask selection. So he's a selection. If I hold Control and click him, that's what I'm saying. You see that selection he has? Now I can do whatever I want with just him. But I don't need him selected. What I can do now is I can make a... There's two ways of doing this. The easiest one I just like keeping here. You can actually go up layer. But right here, you make a new layer above it. And you just hold... what is it? Alt. Hold Alt and put it in between it. And you're going to get like this weird looking icon. And what you do is, as you can see... It makes this layer with an arrow, and from my understanding, it's a mask. Whereas if I were to just go layer, let me just click back on this guy. If I were to go layer, layer mask, where is it? It's like new layer somewhere. New layer. There you go. And I already have it selected because that's how often I go up to layer. Right there, use previous layer as a clipping mask. And you click OK, and it does the exact same thing. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I just need my green for his skin, right? And just to show you guys, so this is how this would go. So if you're drawing on here, look how I'm drawing upside in the white here. Nothing's getting hit. Nothing's getting hit. Right? And that's really all you want. And you just do this for every color. I would recommend, I mean, I'm just showing you something here, but Dave Raposa. Love his stuff. Check his stuff out. That's where I found out about that one thing. It was, I believe he has a tutorial for $5 or $10 where he shows you basically what we'll be doing here. I did work in this method before, but he has so much knowledge and reasoning behind what he was doing. Made me change a little bit of my thought process of doing it, but the practical and tactical and real application of it, I sort of did before. But that ability right there was, that's hot. That's hot stuff. Okay, so let's go ahead and start doing the face here. Let's get all the green in there. And we can do the exact same thing. So I'm just worrying about the selection. That's green. I'm not filling anything in. And I know we're going to be working in layers, so I'm just going to be coloring over things. You guys will see us go like that. I'm going to move away from this. I don't have to fill it in all at the same time. It's not going anywhere. All under here is skin. And this trim has its own color, but we'll be doing that on a separate layer so I can get a little messy with this one. And this is what I love about this character. I mean, this is one thing that's really cool about superheroes, to be honest with you, is that coloring them, generally there's okay, if you guys don't know, we'll do a little history, at least as I know it, that superheroes, right, you need to be cranking these books out fast, 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 fast. And the faster you drew them, the more money you made. Now, I talked about this last week. I know I talked about this last week about designing the one character in this book that's sort of like our Iron Man character. I put way too much detail on him, and I didn't learn my lesson when I did the same thing in the standard. But if you can simplify everything, it makes drawing them a whole bunch of times so much easier. So in this case, with all these other characters, I went as simple as I could with as much, I don't know, some fun stuff with it. I don't think I nailed every design, and you know, you don't always get to nail every design you do. But they always have like very simple color patterns too. So when you're coloring them, it's not a whole bunch of work. Sorry, I don't know where I'm going here with this here. There we go. Just select all that. There we go. But like you can see, this guy is 3 colors tops, and then he's done. I get to move on. And then I get to go into shading, and go like that. But the other thing is I'm trying to keep the style in this pretty, render and shadow heavy, as you guys know I like to do. And keeps it so that once I go in here to do the shadowing, there's not really much shadow work that needs to get done. It's just really in spots that look really cool. Let me just get a big fat brush here. Speed this up. Just zoom out so you guys can see what's going on. Alright, so I've got all my areas that need to be green, so I'm just going to hit my wand tool again, just like we did before. Hit that, click there, and then shift, so you make an additional selection. I'm just selecting all the areas that are green, then we're going to just press our, our action key, F4, bang, look at that, done. Just like that. And then I believe he's got a couple more colors, so I'm just going to make a new layer again, just hold Alt, put it underneath, clip mask it, I believe it's called, whatever the hell it's called, or you can just make a new layer and drag it under once you have it. It's pretty good. Let me just go back. I just want to make sure I'm not, I know I'm missing your guys' comments here. Alex, hey man, don't worry about, I just want to say this to everybody. If you're giving me anything on Patreon at all, thank you. You don't need to keep wishing you gave me more money. It's honestly, it's the content that I'm doing here for you. I don't, whatever. The stuff I put out there, if you guys get something from it, great. All truth be told, in the initial, I had two reasons for making YouTube stuff. One was to motivate myself to make more content, and I figured if I put it out in a public forum, it would pressure me to do so. And the second one that came after was, well, if I can build an audience, once I start making some comic books of my own and things, maybe you guys would be interested in them. It's a second way for me to get marketing by you guys already knowing about me, right? So don't ever think like that. If you're giving me anything, thank you already. It's up to me at this point to be making content that you would go, you know what, I do or I can spend money on that. So don't ever worry about that. I'll be making comics and stuff hopefully this year. So if you're interested in any of that, that'll be there. If not, hey, don't worry about anything. So thank you again. It's Alex is saying it is impossible to prepare to practice drawing with MFing deadline. I agree. I have a video that I've been thinking about almost every other day while I'm in the shower. I have a class schedule that I'm going to do a video for you guys to show you how to make your own homeschooling thing. For those of you that aren't doing it or whatever, it might give you a little jump start to do so. But I can't start that as much as I really want to until this project's done because the deadline's so backed up. Noah, John, I tried batching and have finished penciling all pages. Oh, congratulations, bud. Good for you, bud. Right on. That's what I like to hear. Now, if you can just start rubbing off how you got that deadline magic done on me, then we'll be good. So let me zoom in here on this guy so I can see this a bit. Alright, so we're just going to get this trim done. Oops. Actually, I'm going to try something here that should speed this up, actually. Control Z. If I just use, I'm just going to try closing the black gaps here. Okay. And since this is all like bitmap, I should be able to just use the wand tool. Select all layers. There we go. It makes these pinstripey things so much easier to color like this. Alright, so close that gap. Some of these colors here. Yeah, all that I can't really get around. Oh no. What the hell happened there? I just lost everything. Oh, there would have been some swearing. Oh boy, there would have been some swearing. All right, what time we got? All right, I got to really speed this up here. So like I said, we're going to finish this up tonight with you guys. It's got to get finished either way, so I figured may as well keep the recording going. And thank you guys once again. If you guys wanted to do me a solid, if you guys like any of this stuff, by all means, please share links to the live stream or my YouTube channel if you got any art buddies or friends that might dig it. Really appreciate that. And if you just hopped into the stream and you like this as your first time or whatever, you want to be part of the conversation, you just got to make an account here on LiveStream. It's pretty harmless. And go ahead and ask questions in the chat in all capitals. It makes it easier to see. And don't be shy. Like I say all the time, if you got a question, 100% can guarantee that somebody else has a similar question, and you might be able to speak up for them. And don't be shy. There's no bad questions in art, especially if you're learning. If I'm able to help you, that's awesome. And this show is every Wednesday, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I've been floating around the idea, talking to you guys back and forth about it. I want to get a second stream going as well. And I might move it to the weekend. I'm not sure yet. I'm still trying to figure out a good time to do it. But that way we can get some other cats in here as well. Or, you know, if you want to hit up both, that's cool. I'm thinking that show might be a little different. That show. Love I'm talking about it like it's TV. I have no. I'm thinking maybe it'll just be personal projects only, or in on like recording study sessions and stuff, so you guys can see what I'm studying. I don't know yet. It's got some ideas, but Worlds in Peril here. This is taking up the majority of my time, so a lot of the personal stuff it's on hold. But that's okay. Unsung. Have you completed the Worlds in Peril comic? Yes, I did. That was a 12-page project that's done. Now I have the mighty task of doing, I believe it's like 86 drawings like this, plus 2 to 4 double-page spreads. I forget how many there are. So still tons of work to do. But hopefully everybody that's into this stuff, if you are getting the book, you guys have a good time with it. I'm actually very excited. Like I have the book so far, like the PDF and things, and all the rules are in there and stuff, and I've read it, and it actually seems really fun. But I want to get the official book, you know, and then if I'm able to spend a weekend or something with some friends and just role play out like a thing. I'm interested to seeing if there's gonna be any modules made too, you know, like campaigns, and if I get to do any artwork for that, that'd be really cool. So like maybe one of them is one. If you don't know what campaigns are, it's usually like whoever makes these books. Like if you're buying Dungeons and Dragons, it's done by Wizards of the Coast, I believe, and you can buy stuff if you're no good with coming up with ideas and stories and things. Plus, it's good business for them to be making these things. But like maybe one of them is like, I don't know, Rise of the Red Dragon or some other cool name, and it's just a campaign that you and your buddies start, and it takes you all the way through, just like a video game, really, of like where the boss is, the treasure, all the little quests you get to go on. Like that stuff's very cool to me. And I think if there's a market for that, for this, that'd be really cool to be a part of. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of drawing. There's always drawings that need to be done. So I just want to tell you guys, you know, like, there's tons of work out there. And I don't mean to say that as in any demeaning way or anything, but just hard work, patience, and if drawing's what you want to do it every day. Even if it's work and you can only squeeze out 10 minutes, just inch by inch work towards drawing. And theoretically, you should be able to scratch some work somewhere. You know? And if you want to work for like big comic book publishers and stuff. Hard work and patience for sure. But I've been a big advocate of this, and I want to sort of I want to sort of I sort of want to I don't want to say prove it, but I want to do it this year of making a personal project too, because we live in such a sweet time right now where there's so much power for you guys and you girls to make our own stuff. And to if you want to work with big publishers and stuff, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want to get into this debate again, but there's no reason waiting to work with a publisher if comics are what you want to make. You can do that, and you should do that, and you should still be pumping out resumes, portfolios and stuff like that. But if you want to make comics, just make comics. There's no better time than now to do it, right? Share it with everybody. Anybody that likes comics wants to read more comics, and if you can help people read some more kick-ass comics, then you're participating. I hope. Justin, John, are you going to any cons this year? So I've jumped back and forth on this. I'm still not 100%. There's at least 2 conventions that I want to go to. I don't know if I'll table at them. I don't want to worry about making prints and things to sell just yet. Unless I don't know how this year's going. We're still fresh, but there's the Toronto Fan Expo in Canada that I want to go to, and I believe I'm going to try to go to the Chicago one. Chicago is very close to me. I don't know if any of you guys are going to that, but just to hand in a portfolio to these companies and see what happens. It's been so long since I've actually done that. Actually, 2012 was the last time I did it, but it honestly wasn't a fair portfolio. And I'm actually going to show you guys. It's more content that I get to put out there because I'm doing it anyway. But I want to show you guys a portfolio that I'll be putting together to submit to all the comic book publishers and stuff, just to see what happens. There's no problem in trying. But as for selling my own stuff, I'm not too sure yet. Okay, so I've got this guy. He's done. His flats are done. And it's funny, if I just click his flats layer, his entire thing turns off. Normally, if it's complicated, I put this into like a folder. I might label it, whatever. I'll just put guy. Just to keep it organized, so like that's all I'm looking at. I don't need to worry about, what's going on and all that stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a second layer here. And we're going to do the rocks and background. I have no idea what I want to color these yet, so to play it safe, I'm just going to use gray tone for now, and then we can worry about that later. John, what cons do you normally go to? The funny thing is, I don't go to cons. How sad is that? How sad is that? I don't go to comic book conventions. I would like to, I'll give you every excuse you want to hear why I don't go. The biggest one, to be absolutely honest with you, is I feel like I don't have anything to sell outside of prints. And I know there's lots of artists that sell just prints, but I always feel like that's not enough. I feel like there's got to be a comic book or something, but I don't know. I'm inside my own head. And the other thing too is money, is not being able to afford it, and or like if I'm gonna spend $1,000 to a couple grand to go to a convention, that's very steep. And if I'm not making my money back, or at least some of the money back, so that it doesn't cost me a couple grand to go, then I don't. It just doesn't seem like a very worthwhile thing to do. But we'll see. Like I say, this year's still fresh. Lots of things to do still. Oh, I apologize. I'll be right back, you guys. One of my cats apparently just got into something. One more second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that, you guys. What were we talking about? Conventions, I think. Yeah, so there's actually a local one in Windsor. I think that'll be one that I'll go to because it's literally, I could walk to it, so there's no excuse not to go to that one. It's we haven't had, apparently, since I've been here, and I'm 32. I can't remember when we had a convention, and now that we do have a convention, at least starting up, I believe it's only been going for 3 years now, so it's an excellent time to be jumping in. Let's just change this to a different color here. So yeah, we'll see. Right now, my plans for cons to go to are mostly business related, I suppose, to see if there's any interest from publishers. Meaning, I'm not going necessarily to look. There was a time here, I'll just tell you guys this. I don't know if you guys know how this works or not. I'm assuming this is how it's working for the most part. I couldn't give you a 100% fact because obviously I don't work with big publishers. But is the best you can really do is hope to get an editor's business card or have an editor be interested in your work. And if you can do that, then you're pretty much got the best you can get. Outside of them literally just saying, we're going to sign you right now. I don't even know if that happens anymore. Just the amount of people they see every year, I can't imagine that happens. Like, there might be, let's say, one person at every convention that just blows their mind away, and they just have to have them. It's possible, I guess, but like, I know I'm not that person. I'm not going to try to pretend to be that person. So I don't know. It's weird. If you're going just to try to get a job, I think the best you can get, just to be realistic, is hope that you get editors' business cards, and then they're going to want you to continue to send them updates of what are you working on, so that you're in their list. You're always in their mind, sort of thing. And then when the right project comes along, if the stars align, kind of thing, then you're good to go. Hopefully, at least that's what my impression is of it. So that's what I'm looking to get in there, and then plus, just go check out Comic-Con kind of stuff. And if I'm very lucky, I don't know, maybe Fan Expo. I don't know. Is there any Canadians in the room? Is anybody here? Do you guys live in Canada? Do you guys go to Toronto Comic-Con, Fan Expo? Um, because the book that I'm least hoping to get started, I don't know if I'll finish it this year. Like, I don't even know. I have so many things that I want to get going, but you guys have heard me talk about Castle Dracula. I want to really get that going, and if not, I would like to at least launch it by December, because I think that would be, obviously with Halloween and Dracula, I think it just makes sense. But if the book's done by then, I don't know. Maybe I can get that printed and sell it, or try to sell it. I don't know. But anyway, okay, so let's get back into what we're doing. So the flats are done. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to figure out the cloud work and the rocks and stuff that are going on. I'm not sure if I really, those rocks are pretty boring. It's just gray. So what I'm going to do, I want to bring in some texture. Yeah, we're going to bring some texture into this. So I'm going to go into Google here. And I'm just going to Google search rock texture. I don't normally do this, but on a pinup like this, I just want to give it a little bit of punch. And it's very subtle. I'll be turning the opacity down on it. I'm just trying to find like a color of rock here that'll help me out. That's a little bit different than this, this greenish, brownish blue that we got kind of going on there. So maybe like I don't know, is there anything here? Like an orange look kind of, that actually looks really nice. Yeah, let's use this. This looks pretty clean. It's got some really cool color in it. No, is Fan Expo mainly comics or not? Unfortunately, it's not. I think it's what's it called? Damn. Fan Expo it's got like 3 sections. There's comic books, video games, and anime, I believe, and they bunch it all up. It's actually, I believe it's the biggest convention that Canada has. Maybe, I don't know. I know it's up there as one of the biggest things you can get into. I've been to a couple. I love it. I think it's a great time. But like I say, if I like to go to these things for Artist Alley outside of trying to find editors and stuff. Okay, so let me just get this. Brett is saying he went to Wizard World Chicago last year and submitted a portfolio to Marvel and got chosen to have a review done by a senior editor. Congratulations, Brett. How'd that go for you, bud? So you're giving me information that's great. At least now I know. I haven't been to Chicago. Oh, buddy. In like, I want to say 6 to 8, maybe 6 to 10 years. Easy. It's been a very long time since I've gone. And I was kind of concerned. I'm like, if I'm only going to 2 shows this year, I remember Chicago. Chicago is close. Chicago is very close to me that I could even theoretically drive there. It's not that far away. But I just don't know if editors go and stuff. But you're telling me that they kind of do, so that's that's good to know. Okay, so we got this. Now we're going to. I just want to play around here a little bit with the blending mode just to see if anything's really kind of popping. That actually looks pretty good overlay. And what we're going to do is we're going to drop the opacity. I don't want it to necessarily look like there's a texture there. I can't really get away from it too much, but hopefully we can dress it up a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to make the selection, which is awesome. Again, work with flats. I'm going to select the texture layer, Control-Shift-I to invert the selection, and then when you hit delete, it just deletes everything else. That's what I wanted there. As for the clouds, I think what we're going to do, Brett saying, I just wanted to let everybody know the update on that. He said that the senior editor really liked his portfolio. He loved the way he drew Spider-Man, but still need to work on your storytelling a bit. Yep, I mean, and did he give you a business card? Did he ask you to keep giving him updates at all? Did you get that far? Because it's my understanding usually like if you can get that far, like that's the one where it's almost the best thing you can get besides waiting for them to just go, "Oh, you've got a brand new car," kind of thing, All right, so if you look at the blues and the greens that I have, they're kind of all over the place. So what I'm going to do with this background color for the clouds, I'm actually going to lighten it up a bit. I'm going to go like a creamish orange. A little darker. Go a little gray with it. And I'm just going to select this, make a new layer. And I'm going to do a gradient with it. Let's see how this looks. Light to dark. That's not bad. My second monitor here has proper colors here, so it makes it look a little differently. Mike, I don't know if you're still taking questions, but if you are, what is the best way to practice drawing? I've been drawing a while and haven't seen that much improvement. Okay, well, that's a loaded question. It's a loaded question in a couple reasons, but the main thing that makes it very easy is just keep drawing. That's honestly the only way you're going to get better. Nobody can give you any better advice than that. The only caveat to that is make sure what you're studying is stuff that you can improve on. So, actually, I'll see if I can help you right now. You're saying you haven't had any improvement. So tell me what you're currently doing. What is your current study schedule look like? How many hours a week do you put towards study? And then tell me what your weaknesses are and be brutally honest about it. Brett saying he didn't give me any contact info, but it was nice to at least be chosen out of the portfolio submitted. I gotta agree, man. If you see your name is like we want to talk to you, and it's put on a board from Marvel, like that's a very good feeling. So congratulations on that, though, bud. It's motivating, though, right? Like it lets you know that okay, you're at least on the right path. All right, I just need to focus here. What am I doing here? So I've got this going. All right, so with this texture layer, what I'm going to do is just make another layer. I'm just going to we're going to switch our brushes now back to the brush. And I'm just going to see if we can get a texture brush, this one. Yeah, and I'm just going to pick some of these colors and sort of paint with this. Just a little bit, just to bring out these colors that are in there. Again, I don't want to keep the texture that's there. If it's hinted at in there, that's fine. But I'm looking at trying to carve out some of the shape, and I don't want to spend all day painting in this, right? That's not what we're doing. I just wanted the color to help with the colors here. Get some shadow here. We're going to go ahead and put another layer of shadow over all this, so it's not a big deal, but it's good to have just some idea of texture going on. Okay, Mike is saying he's studying the human anatomy at the moment, and his weakness is the body. I can't get it right no matter what. So I'm assuming by body you mean the torso, like the chest and hips and the pelvis area. I'm trying to spend roughly 3 to 4 hours on the entire body a week. Okay, so okay, so if that's what you're spending a week, I mean, I don't know what your life is. I don't know how much time you have to devote to it, so I'm not going to go into that. I would recommend. Oh, actually, here's the thing. What are you looking at when you're studying the body? What is your reference when you're looking at it? And that's probably going to help a lot here. What is it that you're looking at to help you study that? I think I'm just going to go ahead and go right into the shadow layer now. This is kind of excited to go. So we're going to make a new layer just like we did before, but I put this one to multiply. Now this is what I do for this stuff here, okay? So let me just find my shadow layer. Okay, so when I put it on normal, this is the color that I'm actually using for the shadow. It's like a pink. And I changed it to pink because of the background. When I put it on multiply, it just harmonizes the colors a little bit. I'm just going to use that as a base right now. I might change it. The clouds in the background behind the outsider here are pink, so it might just work. We might be able to get away with it. Yeah, I'll put it back to multiply. And I just use a sharp brush here for the shadows. I don't get too crazy with it. Lazy Frog, no, I am not putting a background to this. This will be used for a role-playing book, so there's going to be text around everywhere. This is literally, from my understanding, the bottom right of the page, so it just sort of like frames everything else around it there. Online version of gesture quick drawings. Okay, so that, I don't want to say it's your problem, because it's not your problem. But stop looking at that stuff. You need to introduce some other sort of art into your diet. I highly recommend looking at either Andrew Loomis. I believe you can find his books online for free. SaveLoomis.org. I'll say that one more time, so if you need to write it down. Save, as in like a rescue. Loomis, LOOMIS.org, if that site's still up. Check him out. Or if you can buy his books, I believe they're back now in print. Highly recommend getting that. Or George Bridgman, Figure Drawing, Design and Invention by Michael Hampton. Grab any of those books. What you need to get into, it sounds like if you're having a struggle, is you need to get back to fundamentals. Don't worry about studies. Don't worry about gesture drawing. None of that stuff. Don't be looking at comic books to see how your favorite superheroes are drawn. Don't be doing that. Look at how people have figured out how to turn two circles into a rib cage and hips at any angle from your imagination. And spend, if it takes you, it's going to take you the rest of your life to get better at this. Let's all be honest. But introduce this into your diet, and I like to call it your diet, of a high carb structural anatomy. And you might not like the style, you might not like the way it looks, but you can put, style is just a coat of paint. The fundamentals are what you need to spend a little bit more time on. And just to put it out there, just so you think I'm not attacking you or nothing, I'm going back to be doing that after I'm done this too, because I feel my anatomy is getting out of control. After a while, I like to go in there. Oh, you need fiber. You need a fiber to be able to poop out all those carbs. Absolutely. But I think it's healthy for everybody to be studying anatomy. Not all the time. After a while, you will notice you're getting better and stuff. But I highly recommend looking at, like, how do you divide. It's stuff you're probably not going to like. It's like school, right? And I apologize if it sounds like I'm talking down to you. I don't mean that at all. I don't know if you've studied anatomy and things at all. So that's why I'm just sort of painting with broad strokes here. And again, I know there's people in the chat and people that will watch the recorded version that that haven't done this, and they want to jump straight into the cool kick-ass poses, and I want to draw like Jim Lee and stuff like that. And I wish you all the best, and I hope you get to draw what you like. But if you don't have I don't even want to say solid understanding. If you don't have like a fundamental understanding, it makes a lot of this very troublesome, and you get discouraged very easy, or you just don't understand why things just aren't clicking. Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying don't do gesture drawing or anything like that. You have to do gesture drawing. There's so many stages of drawing that it's ridiculous. Gesture drawing, in my opinion, if you want to have high impact, high energy stuff, if you want to be like an animator, cartoonist, especially in comics after a while, gesture drawings are going to get you there. Gesture drawings make it so that you can simplify things, and that's great. However, if you don't understand what you're drawing inside and out, it's very difficult to have a proper representation. So that's why, again, I highly recommend spending the time. As boring as it might sound. And read the words too. Please read what's in the books. Don't just don't just draw the pictures all the time. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. Yeah, so I'll give you guys a little heads up for what I'm very excited to do. You guys know I talk a lot about the Michael Hampton's Guide to Figure Drawing, Design, and Invention. It's one of the best anatomy books that I've found in recent years, and I'm going to be going through that. I'm actually very excited because once this project's done, I don't really have anything else to work on. It's when I'm going to make my switch, sort of. At least for now. Like, I'll still take on some client work from time to time, but for the majority, it's like this big stuff. I'll say right now, anyway, things are always liable to change. That I'm sort of done with that, and I want to get back to some study. I need a serious, almost like 6 months off of just study, and just to see where we can go next with our art, as well as personal projects and things like that. But I'm very excited to get back into studying Michael Hampton properly and see what I can get out of it this time. That's something I don't know if you guys have ever experienced, but I get it, and it's actually quite wonderful. Is like, let's say Loomis. I'll read Loomis. I've read Loomis. I don't know how many times, but you read it, and the first time you get something out of it. Second time, do you get something out of it? And the third time, do you get something out of it? Because every time I look at these guys, I always get something out of it. And I think it's like you're going in there with new eyes every time, and it's like it's a new version of you that's looking at this stuff, and you go in with a whole new toolbox of like how to understand form and shape and lighting and all that stuff, so that when you get back to what they're trying to teach you, you're like, oh, I get what you were talking about by rendering. Like, now I know what rendering is, but I understand how rendering works, and so that's why you're doing it, this sort of thing. James Goes is saying an hour of gestures is a great warm-up. I might say that's overkill myself. Depends on your level. I won't even kid you guys. I have sketchbooks I still have filled with gesture drawings, and I did that as a test for 1 year. It wasn't an hour because I get burnt out, especially because like I guess it depends on the kind of gestures you're doing. I rarely went over a minute. I think most of my gestures I always kept at 30 seconds. But I think the practice is right. Let's say you just did 30-second gestures. Fill a page, and don't do giant gestures. Maybe get like up to 10 on a page. That's just me. Do what you like to do. I don't want anybody to ever just do something that somebody else is telling them. You got to do what feels right. Everybody's got their own vibes, their own way of relating and remembering and taking information in. But in saying that, do the work. do your studies. At least do that. If there's one thing I will tell you to do, please listen anyway, is study. Make time to study. And when you think you don't need to study anymore, you probably got to study some harder. If you actually think and this is just a point of view I have. I'm pretty adamant about it. Is if if you ever come to a point where you think you don't need to study anymore, I think you've just handicapped yourself like massively. There's so much out there, so much stuff people are finding out all the time, art related. I'm not talking about like just in life, but art related. That if you just shut yourself off and think I don't want to say you think you know everything, but like let's say anatomy, after a while you just get so comfortable with your anatomy and it's just like it's second nature, but you just don't go back to study it again for like a week or a weekend for frick's sakes, or even a year if you were fortunate to be able to just go, you know what, for a year I'm going to do that hour of studies and not think you're going to get better after doing that. You know, I don't know. I think you should be trying to constantly improve your art, and your art should be constantly trying to improve you, right? I know there's people that draw for a living, and you have to do what you got to do for deadlines, or not just deadlines, but your paycheck. But there's got to be ways that you can find time to get back into some study. I do agree that the more you draw, and the more professional you get, I suppose, the more jobs you kind of get, the less studying you do have to do, because most likely all the studying you did, you've already done, you know. But it's still very healthy to just be studying all the time. Alex is saying, I still have trouble drawing hands and hair. I draw millions of sketches of each in the next coming days. Yeah. And one other thing I will say here, and then we can move on to something else, is studying is great, but don't always just study like Loomis and anatomy books like that. Study your favorite artists and stuff, right? Look at their stuff and copy their art and figure out what it is that how they get the lines they get, or why they do the anatomy the certain way. See if you can figure it out. Copy it. Incorporate their style into your stuff. But don't just do one over the other. Is basically what I'm trying to say. Make time to study the fundamentals, and then make time to play. You know, grab your sketchbook and just grab your drink of choice, or just put a show on or turn on your favorite music for whatever time you can afford, and just draw on your sketchbook for nobody but you. As well as look at your favorite artists and copy the shit out of them. All right. I've only gotten this far on this. Oh my gosh! Let me just. I keep forgetting that I have the other monitor here, so you guys can't really see what's going on here. So let's just zoom out for a little update. There you go. So when you print this out, like it'll look most like that. I know you guys can't really see the line quality, so it's not. It looks pretty atrocious on my end, but it's when it gets printed, it's fine. There's one last thing I wanted to do here because it's actually bothering me quite a bit. Did I get the selection right on there? No way. Shit. Oh, wait. I wanted to color the clouds in a different color. Anywho. I'm going to add one other... there's going to be two fog effects I think I'm going to be using here. One is to pop this character over the clouds, and the second one is going to be just to put his back arms, like this one. Whoops. This arm and this arm, push it a little bit behind him. Yeah, hands or feet are brutal. I'm noticing, John, considering the deadline I mentioned in the last stream, how much should I allow myself to practice? I mean, your deadline is kind of up, right? Like, if you've got work you got to do, like you're getting paid, so I mean that takes priority. When I talk about like taking time to study and practice, it's usually coming out of your free time, right? Like instead of playing a video game or watching a movie or going out with friends, as much as that sucks, um, treat your practice very seriously. Your practice, and I'm very on, like I believe this heavily, is the practice you do almost directly reflects the work you're going to be getting. So if you don't practice at all, you're going to keep getting the same sort of work you're getting. If you want to like speed up that process, practice, because practice is what gets you better. You know, work obviously if you're working on stuff that looks great. Um, so I'm getting kind of lost here, just trying to figure out some of these things here. Okay, I'm getting tied up here. Alright, let's get some big shadows here. We're talking about deadlines here, and I'm going in there and trying to figure out where every shadow should be, and I just need to worry about getting the bulk of the shadows done so we can get on to the next one. Talking about deadlines. Actually, let me just see something. I might be able to just put this whole thing in shadow back here. Just want to see how this looks. It's not bad. I'll just zoom out so you guys can see. So the arm in the background, it just helps it pop over a little bit. Brett saying, I found to draw hands, once you get the palm shape and then think of the fingers as ribbons, as in they are flat, then rounded, then round them off in the finished drawing. Yeah, there's plenty of techniques. I would recommend checking out, is it not Pinterest? I don't know how you search on there. If you actually look on my Pinterest, I don't know how you get to it. I don't really use it. It's been a while, but I don't have any content myself up there. I just follow other people that have like cool tutorials and things. Check them out. There's some really cool things that were on there. Little different ways of thinking, and everybody's got a little trick. Everybody's got a trick on how to do hands. Even if you think you do hands bad, you probably got a trick, or you're waiting to find a trick somebody else has that has absorbed the information on how to draw hands in a certain way, and they've got a little interesting take on it, you know. Alex, Jonathan, so how do you practice to meet deadlines? Impossible, right? Yeah, it's impossible. Some people are good at it. Some people are bad at it. I'm bad at it. It's something I'm working on. I want to say I know what my weakness is for deadlines. And just to relate to you guys, I think that's how you get better at deadlines. You can put deadlines on yourself for personal projects. I think that's also a good way of doing it. But I think if you're struggling with deadlines, that probably won't work for you. It's a discipline problem, maybe. For me, I want to say it's, and this might sound really stupid, but it's just too much work. I usually take on projects that are massive. And then when I take them on, life has an interesting way of throwing something at me where, let's just say, for example, like the standard. I'll use that as an example. That took way longer than it should have. And I took that job at a time when I needed money. And I wasn't just taking any job that came along, because all the jobs were basically paying about the same. It wasn't like a massive pay jump between the indie projects. But it was... I did have a choice between a few projects, and that one really spoke out to me. I thought it was well written. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great book. Glad to be a part of it. And then once I had that job, all of a sudden my day job ramped way up. And a lot of the times I was working at retail jobs that were part-time. And then for a moment, recently anyway, I had to get 2 part-time jobs just to pay my bills and things, right? And in the case of this project here, I had a very long time to work on this project, but I was finishing up, I believe I was finishing up the standard at the same time. And then what had happened was Again, my day job, the video game place I work at, we're doing some pretty heavy concept stuff, and a lot of that's actually very taxing on the brain. I don't know if you guys have ever had to come up with creative solutions to things, but it's a lot more, for me anyway, a lot more taxing on the brain than just drawing comics. It's like, imagine you had to draw. You know how I like to draw 2 or 3 thumbnails of every comic page, right? So imagine you did that 8 hours a day for like weeks on end, let's say. And then when you come home, you have to do, like 86 pinups, and right, like it's crazy. But I took it on because I'm stupid, and I want to do these things. I think they're really kick ass. I don't want to just go, damn, I wish I could have. Like, to be fair, I probably should have. I didn't even know this was going to actually happen, so I don't want to say I shouldn't have done it. It's easier always to have 2020, what is it, vision in hindsight? How's that go? But, it's just trying to be cautious, I think, just finding out what it is your weakness is, and then doing what you can to start fixing that stuff. And it might take you a while, you know. And like I say, some people are really good at just doing what needs to get done. If you got a lot of time available to you and you can knock out multiple books, like, knock it out. All right, the shadows are almost done here. Then we can put the final touches on her. I'll zoom out so you guys can see it. Keep saying it, but I keep forgetting that you guys can't see everything. Okay, so zoom out. So that's the shadows right there. I'll turn it on and off here a couple times so you guys can see it. I gotta put the shadows in the background. I forgot about that. So off. Okay, so multiply, and let's get some shadows in here. I'm not sure about this shadow color. I'll show you one other quick thing before I decide. We can get into the rest of the stuff here. I think what we're going to do is just put a little cast shadow of this character here. So what we'll do is we're just going to pretend that the shape's going this way. Like the lighting is folding us this way. Sort of rounding up here. Oops. Alright, and what is that? That one there. Shift Control I. Delete. Okay, so like that shadow is way too crazy. So image adjustments, hue saturation. Since it's on a separate layer, we can just actually just move this slider to find like a shadow that looks kind of good. I kind of like that. This, like, he's the blue that's kind of casting on there. It's way too saturated though, so I'm gonna bring that down. I think we're also gonna just drop the opacity a bit on there. I want it there, but I don't want it as crazy as it is there. And let's get the shadow on this guy. I think we're going to change this into a blue too as well. Probably can't really see it. Yeah, see the blue doesn't work very well on him because he is blue. It's a little better. Okay, so let's get into the pretty work here. So, what we're going to do is... Now this is the stuff here. Might not be fun to watch, so hopefully you guys get a kick out of it. It's a lot of just back and forth work to see what eventually works. So kind of bring in the white here. So we're going to do a little gradient action. Fades to white here. What I'm trying to do here is just pop the character off of it. Control I, delete. That looks a little better there. And shit, I keep looking at it, it's like, I'm jumping around here because normally I just start doing this stuff, but talking about it, I always forget the stages. I wanted to do a little bit of highlights on his face just to make that the interest that people look at, the focus. But there's certain things here that I just want to do because they're going to be real fun. So this one might be a little tricky here. So I got to use a polygonal lasso tool, and what we're doing is we're just trying to draw inside the lines here. Let's hope we can get it, because what I'm trying to get is just this background arm. And I'll get an interesting shape there in a second. You guys will see what I'm talking about. You'll see. Hopefully it works. If not, this has all been one big tease. Alright. It's a little tough because you don't want to get really any of the black on this character's line art, but can't really change it. So let's get the lasso tool here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just trying to shave out, using the Alt key, his ribs. Like that. Okay, so this is what we'll do. So we have that. Now this layer is actually going to go above the line art layer, right? So this is one of the cool tricks of being able to use line art. Now I want to push this in the background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try it first. Remember what I said, we're going to be doing a lot of this trying and exploring stuff. Is pick like a color here, like the clouds. And I'm just going to use a gradient here. And I'm trying to push that arm in the distance. And I don't know if it's going to work. So we're going to see. So I know it looks nasty right now, but just bear with me. But you can kind of see what we're going with here. Like, that's way too much. Maybe we should bring it this way. Alright, I think that works. So let me just select the character here, and we're going to go Shift Control I, delete, just so that... Ah, crap. See, this always happens with this stuff here. Control Shift Z. Tedious. So this is where when I say I'm not a big colorist, because I know there's little tricks. I've seen it. Like I look at comic books like you guys do. I look at concept art, and there's little things like this that people do, and you put them in the back of your mind, and maybe one day you'll be able to pull it out and use it. And there's ways you can do this without having to erase it, I'm sure, because this is just, you wouldn't want to be in here doing this all the time. Right? Because you just wanted to go in there and put in some cool, what's it called? Some cool special effects and things, some atmosphere without having to spend too much time, and then you go in there and you have to do this, and it's a mess. Anyway, so we're going to change some blending effects too. Whoops. And just to see how the colors play, and then I might change the color as well just to see. And this stuff always does get shrunk. So a lot of this little stuff. Most people don't even look at the art long enough to know that these things would be errors. Like if you're seeing black lines and stuff like that. I can play around with the opacity too. Okay, so let's just zoom out so you can see the arm there. So it's like really in the distance there. So we're just going to change the blending modes first just to see what we get. Was it overlay? I think might look good. No. Screen. Screen's not bad. All right, let's just change the opacity here. Like again, I don't want it to look like it's way off this guy. What's that? Use a cloud brush for volumetric fog. See, I don't even know if I have any frog brushes. Fog brushes. So we'll try that. You can always go back and change things. I'm wondering if I want to do anything else. Maybe his leg, I'll do one on there. And then that'll be it. So now that I know I'm going to have to do this over again no matter what, let's just make a selection. Make a new layer. Was it screen? Yeah, we'll just use gradient. Oh, shit. There we go. So you guys can see, right, like what's happening here, hopefully. Like, let me just save it. You can flip it. Let's get a different look at it. So you can see where like it's pushing things in the distance a little bit there. And what I'm going to do here, because there's so much light kind of going on. That was loud. Color overlay. We're going to change the background to like a, I don't know, a gray. It'll make the whole image actually look way better. But you can see where like it's easier just to see these things. That's all. And we'll change it white when we're done. So let me just erase this again. Then I think what I'm going to do, I want to change the line art color of the smoke. But I want to just put just very quick highlights on his face. That won't take too much time. Oh, thank you, Noah. So let me click that right now so I can get it after we're done the stream. Okay, thanks, bud. Alright, so this stuff here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a different eraser brush. Just this airbrush. Because there's line art that's there, but I don't want it. Let me just go back there. Okay. Let's go back into this guy. Alright, so I use that same brush. It's an airbrush one there, just like that. Spacing's all the way turned down. Alright, so let's use eyedropper tool for the blue here. And I'm just going to tint it up a little bit and just bring it up just a little bit. I'm just trying to feel the selection that would be hit with the highlight, and then we can get rid of all the spots that won't get hit. So it's coming down here, so his eye's not going to get hit. That eye's not going to get hit. Actually, just cut all that out. Nope. Some of the little things on his head here. Just bring some of his shoulder into it too. I don't want to press too hard on it. I don't want like everything to be in highlight, because I feel like when you put everything in highlight, then like everything's got to be in highlight, and I don't want to do that at all. I just want a specific place on him to have a highlight on it. So just lightly put it in certain places. And we'll get this for his skin, bring the green back in. So we can get cool here. I just want to do a little like lasso selection just to get the crinkle in his brow. Like that. Just bring a little under his eye. So we want his jawbone. He's got like this weird, almost like frog kind of like face. So we're just going to do like a quick little line like that, and then what we'll do is we're going to do another one. And what this does here, you'll see, I'm just going to press a little harder there, and it just separates, makes it stick out a little bit more there, like that. And I think it's fine. I don't, because I always look at this stuff and like this to me is the fun stuff, doing like the shadows and the highlights with the coloring, because like you can do some really wild stuff. You can spend a lot of time in here. But if you don't do this with everything, then it's kind of like you half-assed it. And I just want to do one, just to see how this looks. Opacity. Just put a little like reflection in his eye. Alright, so that's where it's looking so far. I mean, just again, just very subtle highlights on his face. That's really the only place I want your eye to go. Even though there's so many other areas that highlight could go. Okay, let's do these clouds and get out of here. Let's find it. Where you at? So I'm actually just going to make another copy of the lines. All right, we're going to try something. See if I can speed this up in a different way here. So, all right, so I'm going to pick the colors that I have. That's the one color, and then this one here. And we're going to darken them. A little red into it. And we're going to just do a gradient and see if we get lucky. Now, the color of him is going to change. That's okay. Hopefully, we can just erase it. What I'm looking at, whoop, it always does that, is just how the lines of the clouds look. Look a little creamy. That's okay. So we'll go like that, and we're going to go back in, just bring a little bit more dark and red. Grab that airbrush tool again. Oh, look, it's already selected. And I'm just going to lightly, just to give like the cloud just a little more push to them. Just in different spots here. Okay, so now that I have him, theoretically, I can... Oh, this is going to be such a bitch. I want to select him. And I want to select the foreground. Nope. That foreground. And we're going to fill it black. So far so good. But this is all the crappy part here. We got to go in here and fix all this stuff. But, I mean, this is, I don't know. If I spent more time doing coloring, it'd probably be quicker tricks. This is just what I know. But being able to color line art drastically changes the range you can get. Because you no longer have to just keep doing everything black, right? You're now able to go in there and make your line art red if you wanted to. I have to get all of that. And for those of you that are watching now, or whatever, once this is done, I will post this on Facebook. So by all means, you can check it out there. Let me know what you think. And lastly, I just want one more quick update. I'm going to actually say bye in a second here. You guys don't need to see how I fix this up. You guys need to see it when it's done. That if anybody here is following me on Facebook, if you're following on my personal Facebook, I'm actually going to be removing a lot of people unless I know you guys in like real life, or I've talked to you in some range. I just want to separate my personal Facebook with my art stuff. I do post a lot of vegan things, so I know a lot of people get offended by that. I've got my own views on what I like, that I care if people actually get offended by that stuff. That's not what I'm talking about here. But in saying that, all of my art-related content can be found on my fan page. And if you go to my website, or if you go anywhere where I don't know how you guys find me on Facebook besides just typing my name. But if you go anywhere, everything should link you to my fan page. And you guys can always get in contact with me through that. I'm never anywhere else. I check it daily. So if you guys really need to get back to me for something, I'm always there. So I'm not disappearing or anything. So I just want to put that out there, just in case anybody's just following on my personal one and not the fan page. And I'll be doing that at the end of the month, so I'll give you guys another update probably next week and the week after. Because I'm thinking I'm actually probably just going to cancel my Facebook. Just unplug myself and then just leave all my fan page stuff still good to go. I still use Twitter. I like Twitter a lot. I just feel like it's a little bit more, I don't know. I don't know if we really want to get into the whole Facebook thing and that. But anyway, I'm going to let this go. I'm dragging here with you guys. But this will be posted up probably in the next 10-15 minutes. Thank you guys so much for staying. We went for almost 2 hours here. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thanks so much for sticking through. Hopefully you got something out of this. Let me just zoom out so you guys can look at something while I'm shooting my mouth. There you go. Oh, one last thing that I'm going to be doing is it's called a color balance layer on top of everything, and it just merges everything, kind of the colors. You can play around with the range and stuff, but we can go over that in a different video. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Just to repeat what I usually say at the beginning. If you just came into the show now and you guys are interested, this stream is every Wednesday, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And by all means, I encourage everybody to come in, say hello, ask some questions, have a good time. Lots of really cool people in the chat that are all interested in art. And if you guys just want a cool little community to come and talk to on Wednesday nights, by all means, hop on in. And thank you once again to everybody that's a Patreon supporter. You can head on over to patreon.com/Jonathan Rector. And if you guys had any monetary donations that you'd like to make, by all means, you can make them there. Thank you so much if you do so. I do have some, right now, I think is there two or is there just one? I think I just have one thing right now that you can download if you are a Patreon subscriber for any donation that you subscribe. If you're a Manga Studio 5 EX user, I do have, I believe it's 4 or 5 of the Manga Studio custom pencil brushes that I use, so you guys can download those. Maybe get a kick out of it. And I'm still planning on releasing at the end of this month. I'm hoping my what is it called, Manga Studio Actions? No, I believe it's Actions. Let me just check. Auto action right here, and you can see I already have some written up right here. And what these do are very similar to Photoshop. They're a batch of actions that will just do something when you click play. I'll show you guys in another video how to make your own. It's not complicated, but if you just want a little head start, I'll be able to provide that to you guys too, that you guys can download as well. And other than that, there's not much going on. Still working on Worlds in Peril. We'll be working on that for, I don't know, at least the remainder of this month and probably a little bit into next month. But thank you guys once again so much for stopping by. Hope you had a good time. I definitely did. And once again, thank you so much. Keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I will definitely see you guys next Wednesday. Take care.